Monday, I'll be going back to work, and we're going to be putting people, businesses, and others who are focused on getting through the pandemic at the front of everything that we do. That has been our commitment and will continue to be our commitment now and going forward for the next 4 years. This has been an extraordinarily difficult election for many, many reasons, but it's one that I believe had to happen, and I think I'm grateful for all British Columbians that we have put the election behind us and we can get back to focusing on the things that matter most to you.
Premier of British Columbia John Horgan speaking after a historic night. Horgan and the BC NDP are projected to win a majority government and take 55 of the seats in the legislature. The win also makes Horgan the first two-term NDP premier in the province's history. CBC's Megan Batchelor joins us now from Vancouver with more on this. So Megan, tell us how things went down last night.
Well, Natasha, it was a long night, one that we weren't sure we were actually going to see any results in, but it was such a sweep by the NDP here in BC that CBC News did project NDP majority government. This makes for the first NDP majority government in BC since 1996. Each of the party leaders here in BC are projected to keep their seats. That's John Horgan, Andrew Wilkinson, and Sonia Furstenau of the Greens. And last night at John Horgan's acceptance speech, you saw a bit there. He was just downright elated over this election. Take a listen.
I commit to all British Columbians that for the next 4 years, I will do my level best to make sure your lives are better, more affordable, and the challenges that you face can be overcome if we do it together.
Now, this election was a bit of a gamble on the part of John Horgan. He wasn't required to call an election until next fall. He took a bit of heat over that, calling an election in the middle of a pandemic. But you have to keep in mind the NDP was functioning as a minority government here in BC, propped up by the Greens. And so Horgan made the argument that dealing with the pandemic and the economic fallout required a majority government, and that gamble clearly has now paid off. And it was also a bit of a question over the government's handling of the pandemic, and this election would show that British Columbians do approve of that. The Health Minister, Adrian Dix, who took us through the pandemic when it started, the first 9 months of it at least, he too was re-elected last night. And as far as what this means for the Green Party, they now go from the party that was propping up the NDP to being a party that just has 3 seats in the legislature. But that party's leader does say, Natasha, that she is still hoping to play a role in the government in BC. But you can't deny that at this point, with the NDP having a majority, they won't have to play quite as nice.
And Megan, there was this ongoing question about the ballots that were being mailed in. Where did things stand with that?
Yeah, that's right. So the weeks leading up to the final vote yesterday, the big conversation was around those mail-in ballots. And that's because so many people chose to do that in light of the pandemic. Some 500,000 were submitted by Friday alone. And the rule here in BC is those votes cannot be counted until 13 days after the election. However, the margin here is so large that even if those do go in the Liberals' favor, it will still be an NDP majority. But BC Liberal leader Andrew Wilkinson says the race is not over for him just yet.
As the results stand tonight, the NDP are clearly ahead, and it appears they will have the opportunity to form government. But with almost 500,000 mail-in ballots still to be counted, we don't know what the final seat count will be. And we owe it to every voter, no matter how they expressed their intention, to await the final results.
The final result will be known with those final ballots being counted by November 16th. However, like I said, Natasha, it really isn't expected to change too much because it was just that much of a sweep for the NDP.
Megan Batchelor reporting from Vancouver. Thank you, Megan. And Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has issued a statement this morning responding to the election results. He said, on behalf of the Government of Canada, I congratulate John Horgan and the British Columbia New Democratic Party on their election win. I look forward to continuing to work closely with Premier Horgan and the Government of British Columbia so we can keep Canadians safe and healthy and offer support to those who need it as we address the impacts of the global pandemic.